The thorough analysis of the origin of species, Lesson 13. Alternated destiny of a dinosaur and a kangaroo. In material science, when force applied to a solid is removed and the change of shape in response to applied force is non-reversible, we say the solid is plastic or has plasticity. It's an antonym of elasticity, as the whole organization is in some degree plastic. Its form is changeable to an unlimited extent, and the changed character is transmitted to descendants. Man can neither originate variation nor prevent their occurrence. Organism can only preserve and accumulate the changes. Just as man can produce a great result by accumulating slight changes of individual in any given direction, natural selection can do that. In case the variation is profitable to individuals, it is accumulated to be fixed. But if unfavorable, species is destined to become extinct. Man selects only for his own good, but nature does only for good of the being which she cares for. Natural selection is daily and hourly scrutinizing all creatures throughout the world and rejecting the bad and preserving and add up the good. Natural selection acts only by the preservation and accumulation of small inherited modifications, each profitable to the preserved being, and as modern geology has almost banished such views as the excavation of a great valley by a single diluvial wave, so will natural selection banish the belief of the continued creation of new organic beings or of any great and sudden modification in their structure. Gigantic Grand Canyon was not built by a ripple of wave, but was formed by the accumulation of small erosive actions for about 2 billion years. In similar fashion, variation that species assume the different form is the result of the accumulation of small changes, being based on the fact that fossils of the species are found in the different strata or places. It conflicts with the principle of natural selection to remark that organisms are created on occasion. Natural selection is very gradual, and there are infinite time and immense space on the face of the earth. Therefore, we cannot make an accurate estimate of the direction and the limit of the variation. Current non-existence of Paleozoic, trilobite, and Mesozoic dinosaurs says that individuals don't increase endlessly. It might have been expected that the plants which would succeed in becoming naturalized in any land would generally have been closely allied to the indigenous, for these are commonly looked at as specially created and adapted for their own country. In Australia, there is a kangaroo which is not found in other continents. Was a kangaroo specially created for Australia? According to the plate tectonics of geologists, continents on the surface of the earth was only one during the time of Pangea, and after that, Pangea was divided into 6 separate plates, and they began to be arranged in the present state. If there was a kangaroo at that time, they would be distributed to the 6 continents. A kangaroo could not accommodate themselves to the climate and other conditions in other continents, and was destined to become extinct. Only in Australia they competed with aborigines for their existence to win the victory. It's because of the termination of species like this that there is only a small number of classes in the animal and the plant kingdom. Amongst the vertebrata, the degree of intellect and an approach in structure to man clearly come into play. It might be thought that the amount of change which the various parts and organs pass through in their development from the embryo to maturity would suffice as a standard of comparison, but there are cases, as with certain parasitic crustaceans, in which several parts of the structure become less perfect, so that the mature animal cannot be called higher than its larva. The evolution is not always headed for direction. If the advanced is a standard of the evolution, it means the progress of degeneration that several parts of certain parasitic crustacea become less perfect in the mature than in larva. The destination of the evolution is not fixed, but is arbitrary and random. So the appearance of the backward species is profitable. It cannot be a standard of the evolution that all organic beings tend to approach to man in the scale, and a large amount of variation does not mean the advanced. This is the reason why a multitude of the lowest forms still exist throughout the world. There is no reason that natural selection should inevitably be progressive. If species had been independently created, no explanation would have been possible of these kinds of classification, but it is explained through inheritance and the complex action of natural selection, entailing extinction and divergence of character, as we have seen illustrated in the diagram. Summing up the problems discussed until now in one sentence, it is: the species had not been created separately. To understand the difference between the creation and the separate creation is the most important thing in this lecture, because Charles Darwin confirmed the creation and denied the separate creation. His evolution theory is based on this way of thinking and is unfolded. His notion toward the creation is discussed in detail in chapter 12, 13, and 14. This is the end of today's lecture. Shalom.